I think you got the job right after graduation. How you were able to do that?
Applying through LinkedIn and all of that stuff, that's the same baseline stuff that I did. But this job that I got, this opportunity, was actually from my
So like how many companies came to your career fair?
supply chain career fair should be.
So it's them, they choose like we will meet these people, or like it's you just go to different.
I mean, you can just interact with them. So how I try to filter them down was like
Did you also used to make cover letter?
make cover letter for one or two positions, but
Namaste and welcome to Deep Diving with Samyak Jain. Today we have Jayraj with us. He was an industrial engineering intern at Millipore Sigma and currently working as a supply chain planning analyst at Analog Devices for last couple of years. So welcome Jayraj to this podcast and happy to host you over here.
thank you, Samyak. Thank you so much for the introduction. And yeah, it's great to be here. I've been following your work since a long time, and it's just that when I was applying or like when I was trying to apply for my internships, I did not have any guidance like you or like basically any mentor like you. So it's great to connect with you and then apart like give out some like tips or like any of my experience to the other aspiring supply chain candidates.
So yeah, definitely. I think this podcast will be helpful for people in supply chain to understand how you did your like master's from North Carolina State University to you got like couple of jobs like your internship at Millipore Sigma, which is a very big company, and then again at Unlock Devices. So like let's start with some intro on like from your bachelor's degree to how you have reached here.
Yeah, so basically, I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from DJ Sangvi back in Mumbai, and after that, 1 year there was like COVID period due to which I couldn't come to the US. But then I came to US in Jan of 21. I started my master's in industrial engineering from NC State University, and then so basically in the NC State University for industrial you have a co-op program. I think it's the similar to what they have for Northeastern. So basically through that I got into like Millipore Sigma. I got the chance to go into Millipore Sigma. So I interned there for like 6 months as an industrial engineering intern from Jan of 22 to July of 22. And then I went back again to NC State to complete my last semester. That's when I got my current role at Analog Devices. So that's also based in Massachusetts. So yeah, I mean, I have a long history with maths.
So you graduated in basically December, right?
Yeah, December of 22. Yeah.
So you graduated in December 2022 and I think you got the job right after graduation.
Yes.
So like how you were able to do that?
Yeah, so basically applying through LinkedIn and all of that stuff, that's the same baseline stuff that I did. But this job that I got, this opportunity, was actually from my career fair. So NC State Supply Chain holds a career fair. So if you have taken a course from their MBA school, then you are eligible to go into that career fair. And like I had taken like 2 courses actually from the MBA school. So I was eligible for that. And then I went into that career fair, and then they had like a lot of other companies as well. So and that was a very good career fair because it was like more towards the people who are like trying to do supply chain or like engineering, like industrial engineering on that stuff, or like operations or like even in finance. So it was a great opportunity. And basically the engineering career fair that we had, it had more of like computer science or like electrical engineering core jobs than the industrial or like manufacturing jobs. So this provided to be a good platform.
So like how was your career fair experience and how you prepared for career fair?
So preparation for career fair is, so basically how it worked for us at that time was you'd give your resume to the people who are hosting the career fair from the different companies, and then basically they'll shortlist you, and I mean if they like your resume you will hear back from them. So what I tried to do was like I tried to make a resume which is like, I knew I was going into a supply chain career. So I tried to tailor my resume accordingly, which will highlight the points of the like the supply chain experience or like supply chain domain skills that I tried to highlight. For example, like Power BI, Tableau, SQL. Some positions they might need like BI reporting and database previous knowledge. So I tried to add that. And then I already had my experience on like working on the shop floor from Millipore Sigma. So that kind of added as an operational experience to that. And previously when I was in India, like during the COVID time, I I interned with a company, and basically it was a small scale like workshop kind of thing, but that
Okay.
was also added as an operational experience there. Yeah, basically like tailor your resume.
So you tailored your resume for each company or
No,
like
so I tried to. So what I took was like main companies or big companies that were coming there. I tried to go on their like portals and see the job requisitions and try to find out like what exactly they are asking for, and then like basically mix them all together and try to find out a common point between like your resume and the things that they want, and try to highlight that with
understand.
the
So
yeah.
so from what I understand is that you used to go through different job description and find out all common points which are in most of the job
Yeah.
description and put that in your resume. So you get matched to most of it.
Yeah, and feel like in career fair, it's not because it's a person reviewing it, right? So
Correct, yeah.
so basically they give a time. You have 1 minute or so. How you like introduce yourself. So what I tried to do was like when I know I'm going for a company which is in semiconductor. So
Correct,
if
yeah.
I have a semiconductor experience or if I have any like information on that, I tried to include that in my introduction to them, which
Understood.
I feel it stood out. So now when I like talk to my peers and even the people who kind of interviewed me at that time, they're like, oh yeah, you had some like semiconductor skill or like something like that in your profile. And so they remember it right now as well. So I think that kind of stands out.
Okay. So like how many companies came to your career fair?
I don't remember exactly, but supply chain career fair should be words of 100 maybe.
So basically, it was around 100. So it's them, they choose like we will meet these people, or like it's you just go to different.
So they have booths, and then I mean you can just interact with them,
Okay.
and yeah, they have tables and you can just go there and interact. So how I try to filter them down was like basically look at their history on do they sponsor H1s, because like the companies that mostly do sponsor H1s, those are likely to take the F1 graduate, like
Correct, yeah.
F1 status student. Otherwise, there many companies have like a hard criteria on like citizenship and all those
Yeah.
other things like regulations, like export regulations and stuff. So I mean, just filter them down because it's great to talk with them, it's great to understand, but in the end of the day, you
Yeah,
are not
it
gonna
won't
get
help
any
us land
chance.
that job. Yeah.
Yep.
So what you used to do basically was first of all search for all the companies, do they sponsor H1B or not, and then you used to search if they have any supply chain opening or not.
Yeah, basically like the type of
Yeah.
openings that they have
Yeah.
and trying to understand like they are coming to this career fair, what would be their motive behind it. Most of the times they also like the recruiters, not recruiters, but the people who were there, like they are from supply chain background. Like at least for
Correct.
my, yeah, from my experience, they were from supply chain background. So they
Yeah.
gave an introduction, they gave their introduction and like company's introduction at first.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so basically like if they are looking for specifically like operational level supply chain roles, or basically like if they are looking for any financial roles, financial analyst roles or something of
Yeah,
that sort.
understood. Okay, so like on an average, how much time you get to interact with any person? Like 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
So it depends. I mean, if you have a interesting conversation, like if you start to ask questions, then I think they respond quite well because they
Okay.
like people asking questions. So now if let's say if I want to go back to NC State or like any other university as like a recruiting, I
Yeah.
would basically select or like those candidates who try to ask questions specific about the company or like in general. So if I'm in
Yeah.
semiconductor right now, like in general for semiconductors, those will kind of stand out and I will remember them. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
a it's a high chance that I would refer them to like the recruiting person and be like, okay, this person, he or she really stood out. Like they had
Yeah.
that inquisitiveness in them, which will be
Yeah.
helpful for us and stuff like that.
Okay, understood. So it like so how many you were able to cover? Like if you say
Yeah,
so,
it was just like
it was single day stay, like
single day,
single day
yeah,
career
single
fair,
day. Yep.
and so basically it's like 4 6 hours or like through morning to evening, like 9 to 5 kind of thing.
I think they had like for some time it was just the MBA people, and then for other time it was like MBA plus the normal others like
Understood.
graduate students who are like
Yeah.
attending the courses. So I would put it at 4 to 6 hours. Like I don't remember exactly, but
Okay,
that
okay, so
was
4 to 6, and you were able to cover 30 during that time.
yeah. I mean that's the amount. Like I had shortlisted like almost all of them, and I could cover like almost all. The others were just like some regulations, and yeah, like they did not
Understood.
have a past history of when hiring candidates.
So, like, how many interviews you got out from them? Like, one was analog device, which you definitely got into. So,
Yeah,
did you
and
got another interview?
yeah, so another one was from a different career, the engineering career fair. That was
Okay,
also a company, so it was Corvo, and they
okay,
are based in Greensboro, North Carolina.
okay. So that was okay. So you got two offers, or like you got two calls?
I got two calls and then
Okay.
those converted
Offers.
into offers.
Were you specifically targeting for supply chain planning, analyst kind of roles, or operations kind of role, or were you also targeting like buyer, procurement kind of?
Procurement side, I did not try much. Like, I did not go into procurement or like buyer side much. I was mainly focusing on the operational supply chain roles and then like manufacturing or like industrial engineering roles. I feel like they have a lot of overlap between them, and
Correct.
so that became very like not easy, but easy for me to handle and like apply to those companies and like relate my experience to their job requirements.
So you had like different resumes for operations roles or supply chain analyst or demand planner kind of roles, or you try to merge them into one?
So for supply chain, I had kept like one resume, and then one resume was focusing on the like manufacturing or like industrial engineering aspect of it. In the supply chain kind of experience, what I tried to put was like in my industrial engineering role, intern role that I did at Millipore Sigma, like how I tackled the like supply chain. Supply, it might be very specific to the logistics of your workshop, like your daily shop floor thing, or basically just it can be as simple as process improvement, driving any continuous improvement activity. So that kind of helped me. So now when I like go into my role, I know like the type of process improvements that I work on right now, those are quite different, but like the methodology or the analogy is kind of same. Like you need to have that mind of like finding out things and like be inquisitive, like ask questions on like, why is this happening. It may seem very like stupid or very trivial, but still asking that and like getting those answers and trying to piece out all the information together. I think that kind of helped me from my like previous roles.
So like once you get the interview from like Analog Device, so not interview, like once you talk with Analog Device on the career fair, how much time did it take to you to get the offer, and like what were different rounds?
Yeah, so I think it happened on start end of October around the career fair, and then like immediately I got a call from like one of the people at Analog Devices. They were not a recruiter. He was a senior analyst at that time, I think, senior or lead analyst, and he just called me. Like he set up a call with me to understand like what's my previous background and like what's my experience in, and just to explain what kind of roles they are looking for to. And it was a evergreen supply chain position. So basically they were not specifically targeting any like operational or like overall supply chain role. They were just looking a good fit candidate for like their supply chain organization, and then after that they would probably like bifurcate them into the different areas of supply chain. So I got that first call, and after that I think there was a bit of like time went by because there was like recruiter change and like all sorts of things happened like in the company. So I then got a call again from one of the managers, and it was a similar call to understand my background and basically like give me an idea of what supply chain roles are in Analog Devices. And after that it went by pretty quickly. So I got a call on the Monday of the week. They scheduled my in-person interview for Thursday. Yeah, so basically the in-person round, that was with four directors. So they were the
So that was in Wilmington?
That was in Wilmington, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they are the four directors of a different verticals in the supply chain. So we had like there were three more candidates with me, and we had like a 30-minute round with each of them. So that was the in-person interview, and if you are selected in that, if they like you, then you were selected to like talk with the VP of supply chain. So that was the, you can say, third round maybe. Yeah, like third set of interviews. And so basically that happened on the Monday, and then that during weekend I think I got the verbal offer.
So basically, like the last couple of rounds were very fast. It's just that from first to second round, it took much amount of time due to change in recruiters and all.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
in
like,
general, they have a quite fast recruiting process.
nice to. So like, what type? Like all those were behavioral questions, or like there were some technical questions too?
So my interview with every one of them was most of like behavioral questions and just me trying to give them an insight on my experiences and the stuff that I did in my previous roles. And then after on that day, there were like questions. So there was some, I remember statistic project. It was on like R, and it had like design of experiments, but the situation that was given to us was a semiconductor situation. Like basically, yeah, there are like different parameters which will you consider and stuff like that. One of them asked me a question like, do you know actually these parameters that go into manufacturing? It's like it was a pure like theoretical project for us. I don't know them in deep, but this is what I know of them. Like when I was given that project, I tried to find out what I could on those manufacturing processes, and this is the high level that I know, but I don't know like exactly how this will affect that parameter and stuff like that. So I don't know the deep insights on that, but I just know like overall high level. Yeah, I mean the director, he was like pretty fine with it, and I was like, okay, nice. And
were they like more on behavioral question side, like tell me about a time kind of thing, or were they more focused on your resume side question?
so it was most of like how, so what was your experience, and tell me about a time kind of
So
questions.
tell me about like behavioral were more than your resume related question.
I think they just took a look on the different roles that I had previously, and then after that they told me to expand on them. What was the like situation there, or like what you did in your time at
Okay.
Millipur Sigma, in your time at your the company in India, and stuff like that. So it
Okay.
was mostly behavioral. Yeah, there were non-technical questions.
Okay, and if I like how many jobs you applied for your like when you were applying for full time and from when you started applying for jobs, like how much
So
time did it took like those kind of.
yeah, so I feel that I started late. I came back from my internship in July
Yeah,
and in August around, and I started applying in September of
understood.
22. And I felt that was quite late because like many others, my like colleagues and my friends, they had like secured offers into
Yeah.
different roles at that
Oh, they
point.
already got secured offers by September?
Yeah, some of them had. It was a like fault on my part. Like I didn't know that these companies were hiring so early.
Okay.
I missed their like interviewing phases or their recruitment phases is
Okay.
what, yeah, I did not know. So applying as early as possible to
So,
full-time jobs is
so
one
you have
thing that I
started
would
in
recommend.
September, and when did you got this offer? Analog devices one. So November
What?
end. So within 2 months you were able to secure the offer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So like how
it
many jobs
was.
you applied during that time?
I don't have a count. Like I had an Excel sheet, I know, till about 200. After
Okay.
that, I lost count.
So
But
like did you used to apply like how many jobs? Like 20, 30 a day, something like that?
more on that side. And then, so I used to segregate my time in applying, like in the mornings or like when I'm productive and I know, I used to like go and manually apply for the jobs, like on the site and like doing research. And like, so if I'm applying for jobs on Microsoft, if I see a job like from Microsoft, I'll just save that job. I'll go on the site. I'll see what other jobs they have available. And like for companies like Tesla and like big companies which I knew of, Rivian,
Yeah.
Tesla, those companies, I try to like tailor my resume to the like jobs that I was applying for. Like
Okay.
basically for Tesla, I know like I had automotive experience
Correct.
in my undergrad, like not commercial automotive, but I was in a project in which we built like a Formula student race car.
Yeah.
So I tried to highlight that in the resumes which I applied to Tesla or
Okay.
other like automotive companies. And similarly, I know like Bosch and others like Siemens, they were present at the competitions that I went. So I tried to highlight that experience in, when I was applying to those companies as well. And then in the night, like when I was like bored and burnt, I used to just go on LinkedIn. I used to see for the quick apply jobs and
Yeah.
try to see like past 24 hours or past week and just
Yeah.
apply those.
Understood. So yeah, I think it was similar for me. So I was also graduating during the same time. So, but as like I started around, I believe August start. I started applying to roles, and I was able to get like my first full time offer around Thanksgiving, like just before Thanksgiving holiday. Same with me. Like it took me around 3 months, like because like whole of August I didn't got like I just got a one call, which was like they were hiring immediately for those ones. Like we were not, I was not able to go. But from I think from after September 15, or like I will say yeah, like after September 15 or September end, like number of like interviews like increased a lot during like after that time. Like I used to have like couple of interviews scheduled every week to go through. So like how many interviews did you got like in general?
So in like all interviews, I would say I would put it around like 15. Like I would include the 30-minute call with the recruiter or like a
Yeah.
15-minute
So
call with the
15.
recruiter. 15, yeah, 15 to 20. And then like for three, I think, yeah, three or four. Yeah, four, I think I got offers for
Oh,
like
nice.
full-time
So
offers.
which all companies you got offers from? Like
Analog was one, then the Corvo was another. Then there was
okay,
one company which was like into bed manufacturing, like the bed frames.
okay,
So that was an industrial role, and it was like a like on not on site, it was like visiting all the sites and stuff kind of thing. Like a like roam around kind of,
yeah.
not roam around, but yeah, like that role. And then it was from, I think it was a California company, and it was a startup in biotech.
That's nice. So like so you were able to get four offers. So like how you so as you said like how much time did it take to prepare your resume?
So resume preparation, like I feel right now as well, there is nothing as prepared or like a furnished resume. It will just like through time, it will you will feel that these kind of things align with my positions or like my role, and then you'll keep on adding things. You'll keep on like taking things out as you progress through your journey in your different roles. So that kind of feeling I had, like I wanted to do that first. Like I wanted to have a resume, furnished resume, and then apply for jobs. jobs, and that was my mindset in the start, like start 3 weeks or so. And then when I talked to my peers, and they were like, I mean, when I talked to my seniors as well, they're like, okay, you have a resume, you have something, at least apply on that. It's not like your furnished resume is gonna, there is no chance, because what they told me was that the ATS is basically a blank. You don't know what will like come through. So that I took from them, and then I was like, okay, I have a resume. I tried to like furnish it, like make it more into that star format and align things, add numbers, and add like highlight the different tasks which I did, or the different, like if there are any skills, highlight those. Then yeah, basically doing that. That took like 2 weeks or so, just like changing formats and like aligning all of that stuff. And then after I was like, okay, now I'm going to start to apply, and like now I'll apply whatever I have. That's my thing, and I'm gonna apply with that.
And I think it's same like for me also, like when I started applying for, so first of all just create a base resume which have like proper formatting, those like star format thing, and all those things highlighted according to what you think is best, and get checked by a couple of people. So it could be done within 2 weeks. But I think after that, within next month, the resume gets changed a lot during that like first 1 month. Like what you've started with and what you have like gone after 1 month is totally different. So definitely like starting a bit early is good. And so when people are actually started applying, at that time you have a pretty good resume on your hand. I think that's definitely one thing. So did you also used to make cover letter?
Made cover letter for one or two positions, but I don't think it materialized. So
and what about referrals?
Referrals, I got calls from like one or two positions. I mean, like referrals didn't work for me. So
Same for me, it never worked. I didn't even got a single call through referrals.
Yeah, I mean, even my own internship company, right? Yeah, I did not get a call from them, because I knew that basically they were looking for a candidate who is like a citizen, or because of the export regulations and all of that, like biotech being bio. So they were looking for a candidate who was not a F1 graduate student.
And what about networking? Did you used to network a lot?
Yeah, so basically how I networked was like when I came to the US, I tried to filter out or like figure out whose connections are in the US in your own relations, and like your dad's friend maybe, or like someone from your school who has gone abroad for education. Try to connect with them. And basically I knew that I was going into industrial engineering. So I tried to connect with those people. And then even if not for jobs, you still get a lot of insight and lot of like important information. At first, I remember I used to just like blindly email or like message people saying that I am looking for a position here, and then will you refer me? Then one of them, he was my relative, my cousin's friend or something like that. So he told me like, you don't do this. You filter out the position. You can't just tell them that I'm looking for a job in supply chain, and then they have like so much of work on their hand. They will not reply to those kind of things. If you give them, okay, I have this position that I want to apply to, or if you can let them know, okay, I'm applying to this position. I was just asking, or like if I can get a referral for this position. Of course, that is after you have like a good connect with them. I try to, so if I'm even putting, so if there is a manager or like an influential person, whenever like sending them a connection request, I used to add in that like, okay, personalize that request basically, that I felt had more chances of getting accepted rather than just like sending a connection request.
And like, did you used to get your resume reviewed by your peers, like your alumni or like your seniors?
Yeah, I did that. So my seniors, they were like, thankfully, like they were in same domain as me, and like a couple of my relatives as well, like who were seasoned in the industry or in like manufacturing. So I got my resumes reviewed with them, and they gave me like quite insight. They were like, okay, so you are adding this. Do you think it adds any relevance to the current profile that you are, or the current jobs that people are looking for? Is that something which will add a people will remember you kind of thing? So Excel, right? Like Excel is a pretty basic thing. Like if you just put Excel in your skills, hundreds of people will have it. What you did with an Excel, if you can highlight that, maybe that can be entry into.
I think definitely like having those skills on the bottom of your resume is one thing, or like the top of your resume, but having them included in your like work experience or like your project, it should be like relevant. Like it should be there, because that's what matters most. And whatever you can't bring, okay, you can put it like, for example, you learned SAP online, but you can't use it until you work with a company. So then those type of things make sense. But like SQL, Python, Tableau, or like Excel or Power BI, all those kind of things, they should come up in your past experience. Or if not in past, at least they should be there in project, because you can make projects for any of them.
I mean, it's what I felt was like Excel is a very vast thing. So what you add in that specific thing is is what matters. Like Excel, if
Yeah.
I say
Like
I know Excel,
VBA, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That
exactly.
doesn't make
Like
sense. Like you
macros.
used VBA macros or like Power Query or something like those, Power Pivot, all those kind of things you mentioned. Like as you said, like in star format, you just put what you've done, how
Yeah,
you've done, and what was the impact kind of thing. So it makes sense. So yeah, I think that's pretty relevant, and that's what people should focus on. First of all, making their resume good. With time, it will become, but making sure you have like a pretty good resume, and that's the foundation. Once you
yeah,
have it and you apply to 30, 50 roles a day, then it's okay. Okay, now you start focusing on networking, you start focusing on different things after that. First of all, you have to make sure like you have that basic foundation ready, which is
yeah,
resume, and your like application, cold applications are done. And
yeah.
after that, if you have time, you can look into all those different things, like, or you can go through Handshake or like different tools, for example, or you can do networking over LinkedIn or like do some blog posting, all those kind of thing to get
Hmm.
it. But like the foundation should be this, and if you're not doing this properly, then you should not focus on other stuff before making
Yeah.
those things good.
And in the end, I feel like having a good resume is what will stand out because
Yeah,
that will be a talking point between you and that recruiter or you and that manager. Otherwise, they don't have any insight or they don't have any idea on
yeah,
what you are and who you are.
correct.
So, highlighting those, I feel, is a very good. And like attending career sessions, I have had like mixed reviews from people. Like they did not get anything from career fairs and like it was very poor for them and stuff like that. But for me personally, career fair was one of the things that stood out and which helped me get like two of the jobs.
Correct.
So I would say like attend career fairs and any in-person event that your university has, or maybe there are like I know there are a couple of events which are like city specific, like people just gather to network and stuff.
Yeah.
So if there are any events, then surely you should try to go for them.
And like, okay, so now we have talked a lot about like how you applied and everything. So like, let's talk about like what your daily routine in your current role. So what you work on, what kind of tools you use on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so I use SQL and Tableau heavily on a
Okay.
day-to-day basis. Part of my role is like reporting, basically data presentation to management,
So
and
you work on like doing data visualization side kind of.
yeah.
Okay.
Then like it's like creating reports for like executives and basically like root causing stuff. So I work on the overall supply chain of semiconductors. So basically starting from their initial how it goes from like silicon to the final chip, basically managing the overall delivery of that product is what I work
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
So I've been assigned a particular category on which I have to work. I manage that category from supply chain perspective.
Correct.
So most of my work is like communication and communicating between different organizations of the company. So I work a lot with the business unit, with the finance, with manufacturing, and then with logistics and like warehouses, basically. And then sometimes I have to work with the external manufacturing teams as well. So that's kind of my day to day. Mostly it goes into like figuring out stuff, understanding stuff. So semiconductor, I feel, is a very deep and it's a everlasting. You cannot, when I meet people who are like 20 years into semiconductor industry, they still feel like they haven't touched all of the semiconductor processes
Yeah.
and they don't know like all of them in depth. So it's
Understood.
always like every day is a new experience. Like you tend to learn like new things. So just having that open mind and going every day into work and thinking like, okay, I know. So today I have to work on this, maybe like a KPI that I have to work on, reporting, then basically find out the root cause of that KPI, filtering out on those things. So I have to work a lot with Excel as well, but it's a mixture between like Excel, SQL, Tableau,
Okay.
and then
So
yeah,
did you
just
use like do you use any ERP tools also?
ERP, yeah, so we have S4 HANA,
So SAP
but
S/4HANA.
SAP, yeah, S4 HANA. So I don't like, I don't have to do any changes in that, like the material master or that numbers. I don't have to remember that kind of thing. So I just use it to look at some of the bill of materials or like
So
a
when you
particular,
have to do some root cause analysis, you
yeah,
use
I
SAP to understand where in which process we are getting stuck and
Yeah,
any
where
issues.
actually the
Yeah,
base data is coming from. And then sometimes it happens that, okay, so base data is one thing, and then what your reporting data looks like is different. So
yeah,
trying to bridge that gap and like understanding what is the like root cause for that gap and trying to fix that from a systems perspective and basically like giving out requirements. So I feel it's similar to consultant role. I don't know much of consultant role, but from what I've heard is you have to like state out or you have to understand the requirements and
right.
basically like understand the requirements from your category and then how you tackle those internally with the different supply chain teams. That's
Yeah.
what I have to work on like on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, understood. So, like, if you have to give, like, for example, like, how much time you spend on each tool. So, like, how much time percentage wise, if you will give, like, use like 50% Excel, 30, 10 to 20 SQL, or how you will define those in general.
So SQL, I'll say I use around like 50%, and then remaining 20 would be Excel. So Excel I mostly use to just filter out some stuff which I
Okay.
feel like is very like granular level detail stuff that I try to do in Excel that I don't
Yeah.
do on like SQL. Like basically like filter out like high level filter out the data from SQL, paste it into Excel, then
Yeah.
like create a pivot or maybe create a bar graph to just see like what's happening there.
Understood.
Ad hoc stuff is what I try to do in Excel, but like automation and all of that stuff I mostly do on like SQL and then Tableau and
So,
Power
like,
BI.
you create dashboards on Tableau, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
one part
So,
of the role
yeah.
is creating that.
Creating dashboards. Okay, so like, how did you learn like Tableau? Like through YouTube, like through courses, through classes, or like through projects? Like, how you learned?
So I had basic understanding of Tableau when I was doing the like my masters. So in that I had like done YouTube tutorials basic, but those were of static data. So I knew like you can visualize. Okay, so what is a measure? Or what do
Yeah.
you add in the rows? And like very basic things is what I knew when I went into the
Okay.
role. And when I went into the role, that's basically when I had to connect like live data and work on that
Correct. Yeah.
and do the transformations like cell transformations and basically go into the depths of like
Yeah.
having
Data
a
cleansing and
specific
everything.
yeah and like having specific visualizations because
Yeah.
earlier I mean when I was looking on YouTube or when I was looking at dashboards it was like okay just you have to I could create a pie chart, I could create a bar graph,
It's easy.
but
Data is already there. You just click and put two rows on the side on X Y axis or something
yeah
like that. You make it.
yeah but when you have like a data which is like coming from 2 3 different sources and then you have to present it in a same graph with like a past history and then future projections and stuff like that, so all that complicacies and intrications is what I understood or what I
Yeah.
learned on my role.
So
So
basically, like, people should, instead of just using one data set to create any, they should try to have like two, three data set, like use them together to make some sort of like connections between them using like primary keys and those, and
yeah.
then try to do all those things like which will help them. Like if they
Yeah,
are asked questions on interview time.
yeah. So if you ask me like what I could have done in my masters
Yeah.
previously is was like I did not work on a practical approach data. I worked on things which was like system oriented, but like okay, I know how to like what to add in row and what to add in column, and then
Yeah.
I know how to create a pie chart, I know how to create a bar graph. But what I felt was necessary was like so if you are trying to do that, like when you are trying to visualize that, so let's say you have a forecast, you have a history, like history of shipments, and then you have like future force. So
Yeah.
just trying to have those two pictures in the same visualization is going to help you to understand like what's the run rate and like all of those things. I'm just giving
Correct.
an example, but like
Yeah, at
having a
least
practical project
yeah.
on.
Try making sense and don't just plot some graph and see, okay,
Yeah,
I know the graph because that's like a couple of minutes of task. And try to get graphs which will make sense
yeah,
and try to see what you are able to understand from by seeing that graph actually. Or
yeah.
like, do you need two or three graphs to make some sense or something like that? So like also like with SQL too, did you learn SQL during your classes or like you learn online?
So I had MS Access. So we had one class of MS Access, but it was very rudimentary. It was very basic that we did on that. But like when I came into the role itself, I had
Yeah.
to work with a lot other functions and row by partition. I did not know what that.
Yeah.
That I figured out on the role. So basically here what I got to understand was like, so this is a requirement. Like you need data in this type. How and you have data which is like primary data from your database. How do you transform that data or how you transform the values to fit into that particular set and how you can present them to the
Correct.
like audience, the larger audience is what I feel is very necessary. And I feel that I kind of got to learn that a lot, 90% of it in my role when I started my role.
I think that's true with every role. Like how much we try to learn
Yeah.
before, it's we learn more when we are actually doing that particular task.
Yeah, I
So I
mean, what I could have done better was like understanding all the functions first, like at least having that function set with me. Like I know basically if I knew like row or partition at before coming into the role, then I feel it would have been easy. I wouldn't have to like go into Google and search for how to transform this data or how to link this data or something of that sort. So basically, if I knew that function earlier, it would have been a like very easy or like a less time consuming task for me
correct.
than rather than to have to go on Google and like explain and like understand on how this data will get transformed into what I want.
Understood. Yeah, but But thank you so much for sharing all of those. Like, I think it's pretty helpful for people to understand like what actually people do, or like how we try to get when we try to get a job. What I see right now is that people is trying to do many things at the same time and not able to get succeed in each one. They are in every place they are trying to be proactive on LinkedIn, resume, all those things, but they were only able to get like 50% of each thing. They are not able to use, like, for example, as I said, like resume and the application are the key part. Like you do resume and then do 40, 50 applications a day. And then after that, you focus on like other things as you did. Like you focus more on like your application and making sure your resume is good and apply through it. So I think that's a very valuable thing to understand. Like you get your basics right and then you go after that. You don't start directly to advanced level saying like I'll try to change my resume for every role. I will try to put call letter for every role and all those things, because these things come after when you are doing the bare minimum of like applying to 40, 50 jobs a day. And after that, because if you're not getting, like if you have applied like 1500 jobs in a month and you're still not getting that call, then it means we have to do some change in how we're approaching the job search. Yeah. So I think it's more on hit and trial. So we need to listen to everyone what they are doing, because for you, for me, referral didn't work, for people it works. So it's on them, like that they need to understand what exactly is working for them and they need to identify their own path. But just listen to everyone to see what's happening, but then make your own decision based on the data, what you did in last couple of months.
One thing that I would like to say is like now that COVID and we are past all of that, and now that in-person activities have come back again, I would encourage like all of the aspirants to go to as much as in-person events as they can, because having that interaction with a human rather than like the ATS, which is like algorithm or maybe just a system, is more beneficial. Like people will actually understand.
Try going to like hackathons happens a lot for different companies, conferences, or like in-person meetup on Eventbrite. You can see, like, for example, you will see like Harvard is organizing a startup like conference meetup. Masters in supply chain students for MIT, Harvard, like, or like Boston, NEU, BU are meeting somewhere, or like those groups, like there are different groups in each club and chapter in each colleges. Try to join them, meet through them with different people or professors, or like take help from professors, because professors have good connections in industries. So try to get in touch with them to see if they can help you in any way out. And then alumni are one thing, and then your connections, direct connections through your like family, relatives, cousins, or anyone who is in US, or your friends who have came here before you and they know multiple people out there. So I think definitely like connection people need to start making, because it's not that you will get the benefit right now in this particular job search, but it could be helpful 2, 3, 5, 7 times down 5, 7 years down the lane, basically, when you're trying to switch a role, or when you're trying to go into a higher manager level or something like that, and people you met are actually on a director or some level, so you can get benefit at that time. So instead of thinking of getting direct benefit right now, people should like focus on how they can build so they can get the benefit like 7 years, 4 years down the line. Because it takes time to get those connections set up.
And go with the aspect of like genuinely building a connection and not just to secure a job. Or get a referral. If you really feel that some person is doing incredible things in the area that you want to work in, you can just, it never hurts to try, is what I feel. Rejection is part of the process. Like you will apply to 100, you will get rejected from maybe 80, but that's part of the process. But from that, if you stop applying, then there is no point to that, right? Correct. So basically just continue. And
just continue, and then you do different stuff after that, like creating your own website or something sort of that. But thank you so much, Jairaj, for talking about all those things in details with us and telling about your whole journey from your like masters to how you got into analog devices. And so thank you so much for joining and sharing it.
Thank you, Samyak, for having me here. And this is actually, I feel it will be a great platform for the current masters pursuing students, and also those who are like planning to do their masters or like any education abroad.
Thank you.